Good afternoon to all. My name is Philmont Bostic. I am going to present my dissertation précis my dissertation was titled Laughter in Zion, Instrumentality of Humor as a Communicative Practice in the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church Homiletics. I must first thank my committee for their guidance and their support, your expertise. I also like to thank my family, my wife, my mother, and my kids. My central argument is humor in the African American preaching tradition is not mere flourish. It is a profound and often humor in the African American preaching tradition is not a mere flourish. It is a profound and often hidden praxis of resistance, survival, and hope, deeply embedded in our cultural and theology. The research is about establishing the intentionality of that laughter. My dissertation addresses a significant gap in theological research. While the dynamism of Black preaching with this call and response and hooping is celebrated, the use of humor remains a critically under-researched practice. Humor in Black culture finds its cultural roots in signification, the art of conveying complex layered meaning through indirect signs and symbols, often to an unaware oppressor. This critically embedded practice of humor demands a serious theological investigation. To guide this investigation, I used the methodology of Thomas Groom's 5 movements method. This approach allowed me to move beyond simple description and critical reflection on this practice within the Christian tradition, ultimately aiming for a new theological vision for ministry. My research focuses on the AME Zion Church, sought to answer one of the core questions: how does humor as praxis communicate the hope of the gospel within an historical context? My theoretical framework demonstrates the scholarly legitimacy of this inquiry by engaging with various voices across the discipline. This is truly a theological dialogue. My argument is rooted in Black practical theology, understanding that theology must address the lived experience of the oppressed. The philosophical engine for this work is the philosophy of praxis. I draw on Will Coleman's work on multivocal praxis, which asserts that African American communication is a complex, multi-layered art and includes verbal and nonverbal, like the dynamic antiphonal dance of a sermon. I then integrate Enrique Dussel's philosophy of the periphery, which shows that Black humor is a legitimate critique because it is the voice coming from the marginalized. Humor becomes a critique from the periphery that uses semiotic subversion to expose the flaws of the dominant power structure. The theological heart of this study comes from Jacqueline Bussey's work on the laughter of the oppressed. She argues that laughter of the oppressed is done with God, and as a form of protest that trust in God's ultimate justice, which is a powerful theological claim. My key findings: humor as survival and hope. My first major finding confirms that humor is an act of praxis of resistance and resilience. Historically, we know that humor was good medicine, Proverbs 17:22, for psychological release. This is encapsulated in the cultural mantra, laughing to keep from crying. This mantra acknowledges suffering but refuses to let despair win. Theologically, this connects to eschatological laughter. The oppressed laugh with God because they know that God is ultimately in control. This trust is rooted in the anticipation of God's holy reversal, that the victim will be victorious. This makes the resurrection of Jesus the ultimate comic reversal. My second major finding is formalization of the intellectual contribution, the homiletical intention of Black comical theology. My research shows that preachers generally sought to limit humor, fearing that it would appear as stand-up comedians. This framework provides a purposeful alternative. The goal is to shift from the ha-ha to the aha. This means that humor functions function is insightful and spiritual transformation, a metanoia, not just entertainment. This is achieved through a tool called homiletics, a homiletical inquiry that seeks moments of reversal, paradox, and epiphany in the text. For example, the powerful paradox of Job declaring, though you yet slay me, yet I will trust in him, providing an aha moment that defies logic and strengthens faith. The intentionality is vital because, as the data from the Amy Zion Preacher showed, humor builds relatability and is a form of multivocal storytelling, a key element in the Black preaching style. As I close, in conclusion, this work is a contribution to Black practical theology. My research proves that humor is an integral part of the gospel. It operates as a theological, communal, and prophetic praxis that empowers the preacher as an agent of change. Laughter and celebration born from the reversal of expectations are vital tools declaring victory in Christ despite worldly challenges. Moving forward, my research agenda flows directly from this work. I plan to pursue deeper comparative studies of Black comedians as a Hebrew prophet, exploring both the use their platform as prophetic societal commentary. I will also continue to work on humor and liberation theology, particularly in combating nihilism from a Black perspective. My project ultimately shows that laughter is not a distraction from the sacred. It is a key to understanding it. Thank you.